I'm not the only one who cried watching the music video, right? I'm not even exaggerating, there were actual tears on my face. Please tell me I'm not the only one.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hey guys, it's Amanda, welcome back. Today I have the purple lights on because it is the color of ARMY and BTS. Recently, BTS came back with a brand new album to save the complete mess that has been 2020, and I think most of you guys know, if you don't know this by now, BTS is one of my favorite K-pop groups, actually just music artists in general. So needless to say, I was very, very excited for this album, and for the past 2 comebacks on my channel, I've done these videos where I do doodle with me's that are inspired by the album, and I just kind of do like lettering, illustrations, doodles, and a lot of you guys really, really liked those videos, and honestly, they're just really fun for me to make. And so many of you guys were asking whether I was gonna do one for this album. And the answer is yes, that's what I'm doing today. Previously, I did one of these for Map of the Soul Persona and Map of the Soul 7, which are very different vibes from this album, but also for those ones, I actually filmed it the morning of the comeback. So I drew those things kind of on my like second or third listen of the entire album. But for this one, it's been a couple of days since the album has come out. You know, I've had some time to process the songs and the music video. I still cried watching the music video. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Even though everything came out a couple days ago, I feel like everything is still fresh in my mind. It definitely hit me in the feels, especially because I was supposed to go to the Toronto concert this year, so the album definitely hits differently. You know, I know some of my favorite songs already just from like first listen, but I feel like it kind of changes depending on my mood, and maybe it'll change depending on what I draw today. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what I create while listening to the album. What I'm gonna do now is turn on the BTS album. I'm gonna listen to it all the way through while I'm drawing, and we'll see what comes out of it. I highly recommend you guys play it while you're watching me draw. All right, let's get started.
As usual for these doodle with me's, I'm drawing on a large piece of marker paper instead of my bullet journal, which I would probably normally do, but doing this just gives me a lot more space to fill it up and draw really large, which I don't normally get to do. I sketched out really roughly where I wanted each title to be, but I didn't really sketch out like the lettering style. And then I started out by drawing the BTSB album logo right in the center, which was this bold sans serif font. I'm using a paint marker because it is quite a thick font, so it just made it easier to fill it in. But I'll link all of the markers that I used for this in the description box down below, because I did end up using quite a variety of supplies. For some reason, I decided to start with Blue and Gray, which is a very soft ballad song, so I went with this elegant cursive to go with the vibes of that song. But you know, it's actually a good thing that I started with this because it did set up the color palette for this entire piece, which was blue and gray. I went with sort of like a soft blue and a really light gray for the entire color palette. Next we have Dynamite, and this was pretty easy for me to decide what font to do because the actual album cover and graphic design for this single was this like retro 70s font, so I did that. I recreated it using the blue marker that I was using, and you know, I just had the Dynamite album cover open in front of me for reference, but it was pretty fun to do this because I've never done this sort of lettering style before. So, you know, not perfect, but you know, maybe I'll practice a bit more and incorporate it later into future spreads or doodle with me's. I added this pointy starburst shape next to Dynamite, so it looked like it was, you know, bursting like dynamite. The next song is Telepathy, which is actually one of my favorite songs. My favorite song always changes depending on how I'm feeling, but this one was definitely one of the first songs that stuck out to me when I did my first listen through of the album. It's just so funky and groovy. But for that, I decided to go with this. I don't even know what type of lettering style this is, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I added this blue outline around it, as well as a really intense drop shadow to make it pop even more. I really love the way that this lettering style turned out. I think it looks a little retro, maybe a little 70s, which I think works perfectly with the vibe of this song. The only thing is that the T ended up looking a little bit like a J, but we're all gonna ignore that, okay? But I just love the really intense drop shadow. I think it really stands out a lot. Next up, we have Fly to My Room. For this one, it's kind of like a softer song with more of like an upbeat vibe. So I did go for cursive again, but it's not as thin and elegant as the blue and gray lettering. It's more of like a bold monoline cursive style. I kept it pretty simple though, just because the beginning of the song, the instrumental is actually relatively simple as well, so I felt like it matched kind of well, and I added some cute little wings next to the fly, you know, to go with Fly to My Room. Moving on to the skit, I wasn't sure if I was gonna do a doodle and include the skit for this drawing, but honestly, this album doesn't have as many songs as the Map of the Soul album, so I needed something to fill the space. I decided to do skit anyway, and since the skit kind of divides up the album, like before the skit it's all softer, more emotional songs, and then after it's like the hype, funky, groovy songs. So in order to represent that divide, I put it in this like banner, almost like a dividing banner, and I just love drawing these banners. I think they also stand out really well, and I kept the lettering just really simple, just all caps. Next up, we have Stay, which is a very upbeat EDM song, and even though it is like an upbeat EDM song, there is something still like happy and subtle about it, so I thought that this all caps lettering style went kind of well. It's not like a serif font, it's not a sans serif font. I don't know how to describe it. Of course, I added a black drop shadow just because the blue was a little light, so I thought that the black drop shadow would make it pop a little bit more. How many times I'm gonna say pop? I don't know, but you guys know I love me some drop shadows. I also drew the BTS ARMY logo, of course, right underneath B. I added a few more extra small details around the spread just to fill in some of the empty space, like these twinkly stars, more accent lines, stuff like that. Next, of course, I'm doing the title track, Life Goes On, and this song, man, makes me kind of emotional. I think it's just a very comforting, beautiful song that we all needed during these times. And I noticed for a lot of their promotion graphic design, they've been using the members' handwriting, even on the album cover, and like there's Instagram filters and the pictures they've been posting, and some of the merch as well has their handwriting. So I kind of mimicked, I think I used Namjoon's handwriting to base this off of, but it's just kind of like a simple lowercase handwritten font, and around it I doodled an arrow with clouds because the lyrics say like an arrow in the blue sky. But I didn't want to complicate this one too much, even though it was the title track. I think it's, you know, sometimes simple is best, and I love that they have been using their handwriting. I think it just makes the whole album more personal, especially because it is like a self-directed album. So I wanted to include a reference to that with their handwriting. Just finishing off the empty spaces with more of those sparkles. And finally, we have reached Disease, which is, I think, my other favorite song besides Life Goes On and Telepathy. I was surprised that this one ended up being my favorite song because usually I end up liking the more chill vibes songs, but this one was definitely more upbeat, and it's just so catchy and unique and different. I don't know, I love that like old school hip hop vibe, and the bridge is so good. So in order to capture that old school hip hop, I did this graffiti font, kind of like how I did Respect from the Map of the Soul 7 Doodle With Me, and I outlined it really thick with black as well as blue, and later I actually added some black drips at the bottom so that it looked like it was, you know, spray painted on a wall, which I thought was kind of cool. just final touches, adding more gray throughout because I felt like I used a lot of blue but not enough gray. And then to finish the whole thing off, I did this light gray cursive writing behind B. I noticed they did this on the album cover, and it's just some of the lyrics from Life Goes On, and I thought it added a nice subtle nod to the album to tie everything together. I really love how this whole thing turned out. I'll show you guys the final drawing in a bit, but let me know which lettering style and song was your favorite in the comments down below. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you guys are looking to build a website or an online store, Squarespace is the perfect all-in-one platform to help you do so. I personally run my website, amandarachellee.com, through Squarespace, and it's really awesome. I didn't have a lot of experience with web design, but it was super easy for me to drag and drop everything that I needed to, and I know a lot of you guys are creative and talented people. Maybe you need an online portfolio to sell services or show off your work, and Squarespace has awesome image features like automatic image scaling, easy importing to help you pull content from social media platforms, and of course, if you ever need any help with your website, they have 24/7 customer support. So if you guys have been meaning to build your own website or want to try out Squarespace for yourself, make sure you head to squarespace.com/amandarachellee for a free trial and for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you again to Squarespace.
All right, everyone, so I finished. Here is my doodle slash illustration slash lettering. I don't know what to call it, but here it is, inspired by the BTS B album. I always have fun making these just because it combines two things that I really love, music and art. I feel like it's just a fun way to listen to music and create, especially because I personally believe that all of the things that you like in the media that you consume, whether it be music or TV shows, kind of change your style as an artist or who you are as a person. So, you know, what you create on paper depends on all of those factors. Also, what I did last time for the Doodle With Me's is I turned them in to digital wallpapers for you. So if you want to have a wallpaper for your phone or your desktop, I'm gonna leave the download link down below. And finally, for those of you who made it to the very, very end of this video, I am giving away a BTS B album, one of the deluxe edition ones that came out. I pre-ordered two, one for me and one for one of you guys specifically for this video, so all of the details to enter will be in the description box below. I just wanted to do a little something to give back to my fellow armies out there, any army little doodles. I feel like ever since I joined the fandom like 2 or 3 years ago, armies have always been very welcoming and supportive, almost like adopting me into the family, so I really appreciate that. Hopefully one day I can meet more of you at the concerts, because those are always fun, and I was supposed to go to the Toronto concert, but we don't talk about that. I think that's it. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Stream Life Goes On. Keep doodling. Bye, everyone.
Like an arrow in the blue sky, 또 하루도 날아갔지. On my pillow, on my table. Yeah, life goes on like this again.